So hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. Now today I want to talk about writing and the author experience, the author journey, because when I think of an author, I picture someone hunched over their typewriter, smoking their cigar, smoking their cigarette, trying to, crunch to that deadline. And that's at least the iconic image that comes to my mind, but no one ever talks about what drugs are actually beneficial and helpful to the author experience, to the authorship journey. So today, I want to rank the best narcotics, the best performance enhancing drugs, and break them down and how helpful they are to your author experience. So what I've done is separated it into the three main labors of being an author. So the first one's going to be brainstorming. This is just like thinking of ideas. Nothing's written down, nothing's set in stone. You're just kind of having fun and thinking, basically. Next up is going to be creative writing. Now this is where you have the vision, you know what you want to do, you know what you're getting at, but you just need to like make it good. You need to make it flowery, you need to make it flow, you need to make it work. Then finally, we're going with editing. Now this is going to be the most tedious part of the process. This is just like finding mistakes and fixing them, changing up dialogue a little bit, switching things up, and there's certainly some crossover between all of these activities, but this is what it breaks down to in my mind. So I would love to know if this is a different set of phases for you, but this is what it is for me. So first off, we're going to go with marijuana. I'm going to put marijuana in the A tier for brainstorming. I think marijuana, Mary J, the devil's lettuce, is best for your authorship experience if you do not force it. Like you're going to get much more out of like getting baked and going on a walk, playing a video game, watching a movie, and you're just more likely to like space out, and that idea might find you. But if you're kind of like trying to like smoke a J and write down ideas, you probably won't get very far if you're really, really hyper focused on it. So that's where I'll put marijuana for brainstorming. Next up, marijuana for creative writing. I'm gonna put that in B tier. It's pretty solid for creative writing. I would say like for creative writing, you just kind of want to stay engaged with what you're doing. You want to keep that creative juice flowing, and marijuana is definitely great for that. So B tier, you could be pretty stoned and creatively write. But as far as editing, I'm gonna put this in C tier. It's not the best for finding and changing mistakes, but it certainly does kind of cut that tedium that editing is. So pretty beneficial to, I would say, to the writing journey, marijuana. Next up, we're going alcohol. Now I'm going to put alcohol in the C tier for brainstorming. I don't think it's like very helpful for brainstorming. I don't think it's very harmful for brainstorming. With really alcohol, you're just going to be more likely to consider ideas that are probably kind of dumb for longer than you would if you were sober. Sometimes that can be really good. Sometimes that can be really bad, lowering your inhibitions. So certainly, there's some ideas that you might think of when you're drunk, and they actually might be worth writing down and working on when you're sober. So, C tier. It's, not terrible. It's not great. For creative writing, I'm actually going to put alcohol in the A tier for creative writing. Because that old saying like write drunk, edit sober, and I think that really goes as far as creative writing. And when you're a creative writer, you're really just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. And when I'm drunk, I throw a lot of things at the wall. So it's definitely very helpful for my creative writing. Having a beer, having a tall glass of wine when you're trying to, basically like write poetry, make stuff flowery and pretty and beautiful. It's definitely helpful for that kind of thing. So I would definitely recommend some alcohol for your creative writing. As far as your editing, I'm going to put this in D tier. It's actually, C tier. It's not like the best. It definitely cuts through that tedium, but don't overdo it. Have like 2 or 3 drinks max, and then go do something else, because you're going to be making more mistakes than you're finding and fixing. So it's not the best for as far as like editing. You really want to be like wired for that. So I'm going to put that C tier. But it certainly can be helpful to your writing journey. Maybe not so much to your liver or your mental well-being, but consider ingesting way too much of it. Next up, we're gonna go tobacco or vapes or whatever, Zins, whatever you prefer. I'm gonna put that D tier. I don't think anyone in their life has ever had like a eureka moment because they, like smoked a cig or they packed a lip. It just doesn't work like that, at least in my opinion. So next up for creative writing, I'm actually gonna put tobacco in B tier. Certainly catching a good buzz while you're trying to creatively write can be beneficial to that, to that process, to that phase of writing. So I'm gonna put that B tier. Next up, we're gonna go with editing. I'm gonna put that actually S tier for editing. The thing that's really good about tobacco is that it gives you like a slight energetic buzz, but it's not like an intoxicating kind of high the way that like weed or alcohol can be. So you can stay pretty focused when you're trying to edit stuff. So it's really beneficial for that. But definitely getting like overdoing it, you know. If you overdo getting too drunk or too whatever, you just kind of like want to fall asleep and not really do it anymore. If you overdo nicotine when you're in the creative writing or editing stage, you're gonna be trying to like stop your stomach from evacuating from both exits. So I just kind of see that ruining your day for at least a good hour and a half. So can't really recommend it for brainstorming. But as far as when you're doing the more tedious parts of writing, absolutely. I can see why like pipes and cigars and everything are synonymous with like classic writers. So next up, we're gonna go caffeine. And I know most people don't consider caffeine or coffee a drug, but it is a drug. It is a mind-altering, a mood-altering substance. So I'm going to give it the respect it deserves. And as far as brainstorming, I'm going to put it also in the C tier. Maybe close to the B tier, but I don't think caffeine is like great for brainstorming. I think it just gets you to the ideas you're gonna think of faster than you normally would. Like I probably would not be very creatively involved at like 8 a.m. But if I have a coffee, maybe I'll get to writing stuff, get to brainstorming a little bit faster than I normally would. So it's certainly not harmful, but certainly not as helpful as some other narcotics. Next up for creative writing, I'm gonna put caffeine in A tier. Closer to S tier. It's super helpful for creative writing because again, you just want to stay engaged with what you're doing, keep the ideas flowing, keep the creative juices spewing. That sounded really weird, but yeah, caffeine A tier, pretty great for creative writing. Next up, we're gonna go caffeine for editing. Definitely S tier. Definitely S tier. You want to stay super wired when you're editing, and that's what caffeine is the best for. And there's a reason I put caffeine and tobacco next to each other. These have such like a synergistic energy to them. I would highly recommend both of them and both of them together especially. So this is how it breaks down. These are the big four, the most commonly available, commonly consumed drugs in America, and I'm pretty sure worldwide. So alcohol, marijuana, caffeine, tobacco. This is how you can expect them to help your writing career in terms of brainstorming, in terms of creative writing, and in terms of editing. So take with that what you will. Next up, we're gonna go heroin, opium, whatever you want to call it, chasing the dragon. I'm gonna put this probably C tier for brainstorming. I would say if you want to like channel some Edgar Allan Poe, if you want to write like a super crushing, brutal, depressing, dark fantasy, you're probably gonna want to be staying inside a lot, sleeping a lot, sleeping during the day mostly, sleeping in a really dark room. And I think heroin is perfect for that. So definitely, if that's your vibe, then definitely I would consider doing some heroin, some opium, some oxys, whatever you can get your hands on. Really, just do all of that. And it really, I don't see how that could go bad at all. Next up for creative writing, I'm probably gonna put that. I'm gonna put that maybe B tier. I'm sure many of poets and songwriters have definitely owe their success or some of their success to heroin. So definitely, if you're writing a musical, I would definitely put that maybe closer to A tier. Definitely, if you're like a songwriter, definitely heroin might be S tier for that. Honestly, for songwriting, for creative writing in that way, writing lyrics. If you do heroin and then you stop doing heroin, you're probably gonna have a really bad time, but you're gonna have a lot to talk about. So in terms of like creative writing, in terms of like poetry and all that stuff. So who has heroin for the reason to blame why their life turned out poorly? So heroin is such a great idea. As far as editing, I'm gonna put it D tier for editing because I just don't see you fixing many mistakes or changing too much while you're like leaning over your keyboards. Like nodding off is just not what you want to do. Like you want to be wired as shit. You don't want to be like fucking slumped over. So definitely D tier for heroin. Next up, we're going crack cocaine. We're going cocaina. And I'm actually going to put this in B tier, probably closer to C tier for brainstorming. And I know this might be controversial because there's that stereotype of the guy that comes up to you at a party and he just ripped 3 lines in the bathroom. He's going to tell you about a series of movies he just thought of that would be perfect for Zack Snyder to direct and all this bullshit. And he's going to tell you right fucking now, unless you tell him to actually shut the fuck up. But I just don't think like cocaine is synonymous with good ideas typically. It's just like a lot of ideas. So I'm gonna put that in B tier. I just don't see it, whatever. For creative writing, I'm actually gonna put this A tier for sure. Definitely A tier for creative writing because again, staying engaged, staying awake, staying involved, and just not bored of what you're doing. And who has ever been bored on cocaine? So definitely putting that wherever I forgot. I just forgot where I put it. Anyway, S tier for editing. Definitely, you want to stay wired as shit. You want to be in the fucking zone, and cocaine is great for that. And Stephen King is a shining example of the wonders that cocaine and alcohol can do for your writing career. So I would say just go nuts with cocaine, really. Next up, we're going methamphetamine, Adderall, Ritalin, Vyvanse, all that good stuff, all those good stimulants. I'm gonna put that I'm gonna put that maybe D tier for creative writing. So I'm gonna separate this into two categories. If you're gonna do meth, like smoke meth, definitely put that at least B or A tier because I think if I could strap a GoPro and a microphone to like 30 meth heads, and I live in a maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I shouldn't dox myself. So there's definitely plenty of meth heads to go around. So if I could like purchase like maybe 30 cameras, 30 microphones and strap them to meth heads, I would have ideas for the rest of my life. I wouldn't even have to brainstorm anymore. But if you're gonna talk about like methamphetamines like Adderall, like Ritalin, anyone who's ever taken ADHD medication prescribed to them knows that they stifle your creativity. If you're a kid that loves to draw and loves to like write and whatever, and you were on Adderall, I guarantee you did not like to do that stuff anymore, at least not as much. So it is just not like a creative boost. But if you're actually going to smoke meth, yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I'm going to put that D tier for brainstorming. As far as creative writing, I'm going to put that C tier. Just, yeah, it's good for academic writing, maybe, at least Adderall and stuff like that. Not so much meth, maybe, but I don't know, who knows. It's not so great for like creative writing, but as far as like the more tedious writing, definitely meth is going A tier. I mean, anyone who's ever crammed way too fucking long to study, way too long to do an essay that was worth like half of their fucking grade, can tell you that Adderall, Ritalin, Vyvanse, all those goodies can absolutely save your grade, could save your entire fucking semester. So I have to give methamphetamine its praise, its due. Methamphetamine will absolutely save your life or ruin your life. Who knows? I don't care. So the final one, and this is going to be the biggest category, and I've lumped it all together. And maybe I might do an entirely separate video just on psychedelics and writing, but I'm going to lump them all together. So mushrooms, acid, peyote, Molly, I guess, but Molly sucks. I'm going to put them in S tier. S tier for brainstorming, for sure. I mean, what can you say? Like, definitely, if you want to have, like, a beautiful, profound idea, you should definitely take some peyote, go out to the middle of the desert. Don't take any water. Don't take any food. Don't take any shelter. Don't take a tent. None of that shit. Just go into the middle of the desert, in the middle of the woods, and just disappear for 2 weeks. Have a little bit of a vision quest. Make your family so worried about your mental health, your physical health. But I promise you, when you come back out of the wilderness, you will have an amazing idea for a book, an amazing idea for a novel, an amazing idea for something. At least, you should, or just like, do what everyone does, take some ayahuasca in South America, join a cult, something like that. Give them all of your fucking money, give them your passport. I don't see how that could go bad at all. So definitely psychedelics as far as brainstorming, S tier, goated. As far as creative writing, I'm going to put them in C tier. Maybe like a microdose might help you out for creative writing, but if you're tripping billies, if you're really tripping balls, yeah, writing is not what you're going to do for that day. Do something else, buddy. As far as editing, definitely D tier. Definitely psychedelics are pretty useless for editing anything, really. Because, I mean, you're going to be lucky if you can still remember how to fucking speak English if you just took some DMT or whatever. So, yeah, editing is just not the move for that day. You're probably going to just be focused on having the letters not fucking bouncing around, so yeah, definitely don't do psychedelics and try to edit your book. But certainly do some psychedelics to think of something to write in your novel. So that's how I'm going to rank all of these narcotics, all of these performance-enhancing drugs. If you have aspirations, if you have ambitions and dreams about being like a New York Times best-selling author, winning awards, anything like that, I would recommend picking something on this list and start drinking it, start snorting it, start smoking it, start injecting it, and you really just cannot go wrong. I don't see how that could go bad at all. And I think, what is the awards and the praise compared to the friends we're gonna make along the way. And I think if you start doing all these drugs, you're gonna make a lot of new friends. You're gonna have a lot of new worthwhile experiences. You're gonna make a lot of new friends at that crack house. So, if you don't become a New York Times best-selling author, at least you have a fun new hobby to indulge in. And isn't that great? So, again, I'm just gonna scroll through this one more time. This is the opposite of a dare. Commercial: do drugs, do drugs, do drugs. They're good for you. Don't listen to your parents. Do drugs. Skip school. Fuck class. Commit arson.